On the 20th of May, Kirklees Council held its first meeting of the new municipal year. Reform UK Limited had won 30% of the vote. They had 43 new councillors, and their leader, Sarah Wood, wanted to run the council. Here's how she pitched herself.
I come into this council from a professional, operational and engineering background, working with executive stakeholders all the way down to the cleaner on the shop floor. For me, there is no difference. I do not come from a political career, and I consider that to be a supreme strength. What I and my colleagues bring to this chamber is fresh eyes. My career has been built around problem solving, governance, delivery, risk management, and bringing people together to achieve outcomes under pressure.
Governance, delivery, risk management, that is the pitch. Give me the top job, I've got the skills, I know what I'm doing. And then here's what happened next, in the same meeting, in the very same chamber.
I don't understand the Constitution. I have not had sufficient time to read that as yet. I don't understand what standing orders are, what they're made up of, nor do I understand what an amendment is.
She doesn't know what an amendment is. The person wanting to run the council doesn't know what an amendment is. And she said it out loud in a microphone on a live broadcast. I mean, all right, to be fair, being a new council is probably hard. I've never done it myself. I wouldn't know. The Constitution runs into hundreds of pages and procedures take time to learn. And most of these people have never done this before. And that's absolutely fine. It's normal. Thing is, if you don't know the rules, it's probably wise that you don't give that speech first. What Tanisha Branwell, an independent councillor who was in the room, put her finger on is the thing that actually matters here. You can ask for breathing space, or you can ask for one of the top jobs. In the same meeting, you really can't do both.
There are a lot of new reform councillors. There are a lot of new councillors point blank, and they do deserve that breathing space to get to know the role a little bit better. But those councillors are not attempting to lead the cabinet or the chair of overview and scrutiny, and they're not attempting to lead the council as the leader or the deputy leader. So it's okay in one breath to say, okay, we need time, but then in another breath to say we don't need time and we should have these seats. It completely contradicts and it doesn't make any sense.
If you're not ready to understand a vote, you're not ready to lead people doing the voting. Bramwell said it clearly, and her logic is airtight. But rather than acknowledge the contradiction, Wood then threatens them.
We understand that just because we don't understand it, that it may not be constitutional, but we are at a disadvantage and we do not necessarily know what we are voting for, and therefore, this we consider not to be a democratic process. We are willing and able to take the time to understand those things, but it is unreasonable for a chamber not to allow 43 new councillors to understand the rules of the game. If you wish to proceed, then we can't stop you, but do know that this will be seen by the Kirklees constituents, and we will make sure that it is understood by the Kirklees constituents that we were not able to engage democratically.
The process she's calling undemocratic is the council following its own constitution. The constitution that she's just told Chamber that she hasn't read. She's going to go back to voters and tell them that the process was rigged, and her evidence for that is that she didn't understand the process. And then it gets worse. Later, in the same meeting, Reform UK Limited found themselves voting against a motion they had proposed themselves. Procedural stuff around scrutiny committee seats. Wood's explanation, when challenged, was that they voted against it because they didn't understand what they were voting on. The thing they don't understand was something that they put forward. A councillor across the chamber said calmly and very correctly,
I am confused that these matters are being proposed by the Reform Party, who are now voting against it as the Reform Party.
And Wood's response was,
We voted against in this case because we don't understand what's going on.
So Reform proposed it, Reform voted against it because they didn't know what it was. So Robert Jenrick, Reform's shadow chancellor cosplaying spokesman. I don't know. I can't keep up with all the titles. Basically, Robert Jenrick, former Tory, was asked about it on LBC.
The game that the media wants to play.
There is no game. There is footage. The footage is of Reform's own council leader at her own council meeting on her own council's webcast saying that she doesn't know what an amendment is, minutes after asking to run the council. Jenrick's response to documented evidence is to accuse the journalist of playing games. Ben Kentish pushes back.
You want to criticise Reform, but it's clearly not working.
I don't want to criticise anybody.
It's clearly not working with the general.
Interpretation of that clip.
It's clearly not working with the public because the public are voting for Reform. They did at the local elections.
That doesn't mean we shouldn't hold you accountable where you win power.
They see Reform in local government. They want more of it.
That doesn't mean that.
Yes, they are. That's why this matters. Andrew Cooper, the Greens group leader, who also put him forward for council leader, made a joke during the speech that landed harder than he probably intended. He noted that Reform's local election campaign consisted largely of direct mail letters from Nigel Farage about stopping the boats, and observed that Huddersfield's narrow canal is fairly unnavigatable at the moment. Reform ran a national culture war campaign in a local election and won off the back of it, and arrived with 43 councillors who, by their own admission, don't know what an amendment is and couldn't explain what it was that they put to a vote. This is the structural problem that nobody in the party wants to talk about. Insurgency parties win by promising to drain the swamp and bring in real people. The mechanism by which they do that is electing a lot of people who have never done this before. But councils and parliaments are complicated. The rules exist for reasons. The constitution is long because governance is complex. And if you build your entire brand on a contempt for institutional knowledge, you'll arrive without institutional knowledge. Kirklees is a pilot episode. 43 new councillors, a leader who couldn't explain what was voting on, and even said that if he explained it slowly, they wouldn't understand. A party whose national response was to accuse the media of playing games for having watched it. Sarah Wood is not a stupid person. She walked into that chamber to give a speech about governance and risk management, and then told the chamber that she hadn't read the Constitution. That gap between the pitch and the reality is exactly what Reform UK Limited is selling on a national level. The confidence without the preparation, the authority without the knowledge. And when it went wrong, they blamed the people watching.